Okay, guys, let's get started without any further ado. Before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I will be your cybersecurity trainer for the entire duration of the course. Again, I've had an experience of 7+ years in this domain, guys, in cybersecurity specifically. I work as a SOC analyst currently, level 3. And I've been training students since the last 5 years. Okay, since again the since 2019 or 2020 mid, I would say, since the pandemic itself. Okay. And yeah, I train students on certified ethical hacking. I train students on application penetration testing. I train students on SOC analysis using Splunk. And the course that I'm teaching you or training you on the demo today is on certified ethical hacking, though, version 13. This is the fundamental course that is taken up by students who want to enter this domain or this world of cybersecurity. This is the first go-to course, I would say, which explains all the fundamentals and everything from scratch regarding what cybersecurity is, what penetration testing is, what analysis of the threats are. Okay. So again, but this course primarily focuses on understanding how do you check the security of each and every device in your organization, each and every endpoint in your organization. Okay. So yeah, without any further ado, we shall get started with our slides. Before that, any questions or doubts that you have on your end? Do you want me to clarify? Any questions or doubts as such? Okay, assuming. Okay, assuming no questions, let's get started. So as mentioned, this course is called Certified Ethical Hacking. Now, some students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking is one and the same. So let's clarify that confusion first. Let me define each of these terms. Okay. So when you talk about hacking, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. So if I were a hacker, let's say if I hacked your phone, it basically means I have complete control of your phone and the data that it includes. Okay, so I can steal your data, I can destroy the data on your phone. I can download or exfiltrate the data from your phone and sell it to other people. And all of this is done without your knowledge or without your permission. So hacking is the procedure of trying to gain access to these information systems, which could be anything again. Could be as small as a mobile phone to as big as a web applications server or a database. And this is done without the permission and without the knowledge of the organization or the person owning those devices. And this is usually performed by hackers or cyber criminals for their own benefit. Okay. So once they've gotten access to your data, they can either destroy it or sell it to other people, okay, and get some financial benefit out of it. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun. Okay. Now, when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, so when you talk about ethical, this becomes legal. So how is hacking getting legal now? So when you talk about ethical hacking, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerable. Just give me 1 second, guys. So when you talk about finding vulnerabilities, this terminology called vulnerability is something that will keep coming across throughout the course. It is a loophole, it's a flaw in the security of the information system. Okay. And you do this with the consent and with the knowledge of the organization. So when you're an ethical hacker, you try to find the loopholes in the security of these information devices and you try to remediate them. You try to give the solutions or the patches for these. Why do you do that? So that you can prevent these cyber threats. Hackers also look for the same vulnerabilities itself when they want to attack the organization. So you as an ethical hacker, find these vulnerabilities first, report it back to the company and remediate them. And once those vulnerabilities have been patched up, there are no more flaws in the system. There are no more cyber threats that will be causing any harm to the organization. Okay. So depending on these two definitions, excuse me, can categorize the different types of hackers. There's white hat hackers, gray hat hackers, and black hat hackers. Each of these are professionals who perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. Okay. To define each of these categories first, when we talk about black hat hackers, these are people who perform hacking for their own benefit, okay, or for fun without asking for consent. These people are also commonly known as cyber criminals. On the other end of the spectrum, we have white hat hackers, someone who abides by the laws and policies of the organization and works for securing the organization's infrastructure, also commonly known as ethical hackers. And in between, there's a third mysterious category called gray hat hackers, also commonly known as bug bounty hunters. Okay, these are people who don't ask for permission first, like a black hat hacker, but once they find the vulnerability, they report the vulnerability back. Okay, like a right. So again, like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission, and like a white hat hacker, they report the vulnerabilities back, but for a minor price, for a minor bounty. So once they report the vulnerability, they expect a small reward in return. Hence, they're called as bug bounty hunters. They hunt for bugs in return for a bounty. Okay. And no matter what hacker you take here, whether you take black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, or white hat hackers, these are professionals who perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called as cyber killing. Some organizations also refer to this as hacking cycle. It's one and the same. Okay. So the cyber kill chain was initially developed by the US military guys. So there's an organization called Lockheed Martin. Okay, and that organization built the cyber kill chain. I think this popped up or this was brought to the world after the 9/11 attacks. Okay, where the US military thought it is very important to initiate an organization for cyber defense as well. Okay, and that is where it gave birth to this cyber kill chain thing, a very well recognized framework all around the world to prevent cyber attacks in any organization. To define it, it is a procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack. And the same knowledge of this procedure also allows cybersecurity professionals to understand these attacks, to detect these attacks at every stage, and prevent these attacks as well. Okay. So if you want to learn ethical hacking, it is very important to know how hacking is done, how these attacks are performed in real time. Unless and until you know that, you would not know what are the key factors initiating that attack, or what are the key signatures or the hints to look at, or the symptoms of that attack to prevent those attacks from progressing or advancing further. So it allows us to understand how to prevent these attacks in the first place or detect them if they're already initiated. Okay. Now, this hacking cycle consists of 5 important phases in it, guys. There's something called as information gathering, there's something called as scanning, then there's gaining access, maintaining access, and reporting or clearing traces. Okay. These are the same exact 5 steps that we'll be learning throughout the entire course. So the entire course is going to revolve around these 5 phases itself. Okay. So before we progress into this, any questions or doubts up to this point? Anyone? Kazi, Priyanshu, Siddhi Mishra. Guys, I hope you can hear me. Am I audible?
So why did this chain is called as kill chain?
So sorry, guys, I was on mute about that. Didn't get the concept of cyber kill chain. The reason why it's called kill chain is because that is basically leading for an attacker to get complete access of the system there, Siddhi. So once he has gotten the complete access of that system, he could even try to completely disorient the device and make it inaccessible for anyone else. So let's say if I've got access to one of the databases of an organization, once I've stolen the entire data from that organization, if I want, I can even kill that server. I can make it inaccessible to anybody else. I can completely shut it down. It's more of a military term actually. So that is how it derived actually. So they use the same terminology here as well. Cyber kill chain. Okay. So the kill chain, the word kill chain is actually a military terminology, I think, from the US military itself. But when you add the cyber perspective to it, that is how it came up as cyber kill chain, where you're trying to attack an organization and you're making their services inaccessible or render them useless to any of the clients in the organization. Is that clear? So the hello,
Yes.
right, guys. Okay, now moving on, as mentioned, then you talk about the first step here, information gathering. So again, as mentioned, our entire course is going to revolve in these 5 phases itself, guys. It's a very simple procedure, I would say, okay, but again, involves some amount of in-depth thoughts, okay. So when you talk about information gathering, the first phase, now we won't be going into the details since this is just a demo class. I'll just give you a brief overview of these 5 phases, and then the course will again explain all those 5 steps to you in detail. Okay. So when you talk about information gathering, which is also commonly known as reconnaissance or footprinting, this is the phase where the hacker tries to get as much information as possible about the target organization. So if I were a hacker, first I would try to research about the organization. I would try to get some information about them passively. What I mean by passively is I do not contact the organization in any way. I don't let them know that I'm getting information about them. I get this information from third-party sources. But the main question that arises is what kind of data are we looking for here? And this is the data as follows. So when you perform information gathering, you try to obtain all these pieces of information about the organization, their IP address records, their who's records, their DNS records, their domain and subdomain records, okay, OS information, what operating system are they using on their various devices, employee details also, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees, and usernames and passwords of those employees if they got leaked anywhere in data breaches. Now, believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. All you need to know is what those websites are from where you can get that information. And in our upcoming ethical hacking sessions, we'll learn what those websites are and how do you obtain this information. And this information, again, is utilized in the next phase, which is scanning. So scanning is where you get some extra data, but by making active connections. Earlier, we got the data passively. Here, we get the data actively. What I mean by actively is whatever IPs you obtain, whatever email addresses you obtain, whatever domains or subdomains you obtain in the earlier phase, you now make direct connections with those. You initiate scans on those devices to get some extra data. And that data can be broken down in 3 parts again. There's something called network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, you can figure out in the organization how many devices exist. So in their local network, how many routers do they have? How many firewalls do they have? How many client operating system devices do they have? How many servers do they have? Do they have any extra security measures? Firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. So getting the entire image of their internal organization is network scanning. Once you know what devices exist, on those devices you perform port scanning, figuring out on those devices what ports are open and what services or what applications are those devices using. Once you know what applications are being used, then finally you perform vulnerability scan. So in that phase, you try to figure out in any of those applications, is there a misconfiguration? Is there a loophole? Is there a flaw or a weakness in their services? Okay. So it's a step-by-step procedure. You find the devices first. On those devices, you find out what applications are running. On those applications, you figure out are there any loopholes or vulnerabilities. Okay. So during this phase, we're using 2 very important tools. One is called Nmap, which is very commonly used in organizations. So you can search for it as well. Nmap. Okay, or another one is called Tenable Nessus. Okay. This is an automated vulnerability scanner, quite an expensive tool actually. So if you click on the link and if you scroll down, and if you check for buy, it's around $7,000. Right? We'll be using the same tool in our upcoming sessions as well, guys. Don't worry. Luckily, there's a trial version. You don't have to make any payment for this. Okay. I'll show you how to install this tool and use it in an organization efficiently as well. Okay. After network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning is done, then the next phase is gaining access. So now you know what vulnerabilities exist in the systems. Next phase is nothing but attacking on those vulnerabilities. Okay, that is what gaining access is. Attackers use the vulnerabilities found in the earlier phases, and they try to gain access to the system or the application or the entire network of the organization. Okay, now covers a vast variety of topics, guys. Just an overview of what these are. I'll explain each of them now. So, but the main takeaway over here is you're trying to understand how to attack each and every endpoint in the organization. So we talk about system hacking, where we learn how to attack any device and crack their passwords. Then we talk about malware attacks, malicious software attacks. So what are malwares? How do you create malwares? How do you defend system from malwares? Then comes network attacks, sniffing attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers. So it might sound a bit gibberish right now, guys, but using these attacks, hackers can capture your usernames and passwords in the network. They can shut down remote servers by overloading them with traffic. They can crack your Wi-Fi passwords, get access to your Wi-Fi routers. Okay, they can perform social engineering attacks also, which is where we can create fake websites and then send them to the victims, make them believe that it is a genuine website and get their usernames and passwords. Okay. Then on the right side, we have hacking web servers and web applications, where we learn how do attackers attack any web server on the back end, or how do they attack a website on the front end. So for front end attacks, we have multiple vulnerabilities again: SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability, etc., etc. But again, might sound a bit gibberish, but these are just to attack a website on the front end using different techniques and vulnerabilities. Okay. Then you have evading techniques. How do you evade an IDS, IPS, or a firewall? How do you bypass security measures? Okay. IDS and IPS are nothing but intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems. Okay. These are devices used in organization to detect attacks. Okay. But there are techniques to bypass those also. So we learn how do you bypass these if they have a misconfiguration on them. Okay. And then finally comes vulnerability assessment and hacking mobile phones, where we learn if a system contains a vulnerability, how do you assess it? How do you attack on it? And how do you prevent it in an organization? And how do you hack mobile phones as well? Whether it be any phone in the world from anywhere, how do you send a Trojan to it? And how do you get remote connections to it? Okay. So in this entire module, we learn how to attack each and every endpoint, guys. Whether we talk about system security, network security, Wi-Fi security, web server security, web application security, firewall security, mobile phone security, no matter what single device would exist in the network, you try to understand how to check the security of each and every device. Okay. Once that is done, you have two small modules left out, which are maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Okay. In maintaining access, we try to tell you how do you maintain a persistent connection. Okay. So basically, how do you try to maintain a connection to a system even if it gets restarted or rebooted is what we learn in maintaining access. And finally, in reporting or clearing traces, we learn how do you generate a report for an organization, elaborating all the loopholes and providing the solutions as well. This is the job of an ethical hacker. Or as a non-ethical hacker, a black hat hacker, how do you remove the evidences of your actions? How do you erase the evidence of your actions, hide your identity, and become untraceable? Okay. So the course is going to run in two simple tracks, guys. First, you learn how do you perform these attacks as a cyber criminal. Then you learn how do you prevent these attacks as a cyber professional. Okay. So this is also commonly known as red team hacking and blue team hacking or blue team operations. Okay. Basically learning how to attack and how to defend the organizations as well. Okay. And the entire course is for a duration of 35 days, guys, where we have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And we again cover everything from the very basics from scratch. Some people might not be from an IT background, so that's not an issue at all. We cover everything from scratch. We talk about networking fundamentals. We talk about the lab setup installation. We talk about the Linux commands. Okay. And then we dive into the ethical hacking course. So this course is inclusive of all the prerequisites and the actual course contents. Okay. And again, as mentioned, I'll also be sharing you an entire list of tools which will be acting as your lab simulation. So we will have a practical lab simulation where you can perform all the attacks on. So you don't have to worry about, again, any online labs or anything. The lab will be installed on your own device, which you will have access to 24/7. Okay. And again, to just show you an example of it, There's this operating system called Kali Linux. This is very important for our cybersecurity. It's a Linux-based operating system, which is pre-installed with all the hacking tools required. Okay. And I'll show you how do you install this operating system and how do you run it in your environment. Okay. So, oh, sorry. Oh, this is a new installation. No root login. Okay. So this is what your Kali Linux looks like. Again, as mentioned, it comes with all the tools required for various cybersecurity operations, information gathering, vulnerability analysis, password attacks, database attacks, wireless attacks. All the tools for these are pre-installed over here. This is not available for you in Windows, guys. These tools are not available for you in in Windows. Therefore, we would need the Kali operating system for it. Okay. And I'll show you how do you practically install that lab setup as well. Okay. So yeah, a brief intro, guys, on what the course is about and what topics we'll be covering throughout the course. If you have any questions also, you can let me know now. Anand, Fareed, Kazi, Priyanshu, Siddhi. If you have any questions, please do let me know, guys. Oh yeah, another important point to convey, all these sessions are being recorded, guys. So even if you miss out on any sessions, these sessions are recorded and they'll be shared to you on your Google Drive once you register. So all the presentation slides, all the notes, all the recordings are all inclusive of the course price, which is 8,000 rupees. Okay. So again, for any payment queries also, you can contact the institute for that, guys. Okay. But for any technical queries also, you can contact me directly. What are the prerequisites for learning Kali? So again, the only prerequisite for that is Linux commands, Siddhi. But again, as mentioned, that is already included in the course itself. If I show you that. So before we dive into all these advanced concepts, we'll learn networking fundamentals. We learn about Linux commands. So I'll explain what the Linux operating system is. Okay. How do you get root user access or admin user access? What are the commands that you regularly use in Linux? We'll cover all that practically. So again, as mentioned, for this course, there is no requirement for any prerequisites because all those are included in the course itself. Okay. So you don't have to worry about any other topics to learn before joining this. Okay. So again, as mentioned, all the networking fundamental concepts, Linux commands concepts, spoofing or hiding your identity concepts, all of those are included in the course. So our next session is going to be on networking fundamentals, guys, where we talk about what IP addresses are, what are the properties of an IPv4 address, what are the categories of IP addresses, okay, what's the first IP, what's the last IP, how do you get those ranges, okay. Again, what are the categories, what are public IPs, what are private IPs. We'll learn all that in the next session, actually. So again, I don't think this is provided in any other institute. They don't include the prerequisites. They directly start with the hacking cycle, which is a bit confusing in other institutes. Just to overcome that problem, we have included these prerequisites as well in the course. Even though if you're not from a non-IT background, this should not be causing you any trouble now. Any other questions, guys? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Any questions or doubts up to this point?
So what are the duration of this course, the entire course?
35 days, as mentioned, from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each for 35 days. And the class starts tomorrow.
So this is completely virtual session, or else do you have classroom sessions also available?
No, only online sessions currently. For I'm
Only
not in
virtual session.
Hyderabad, actually. I am from a different location altogether, from Andhra Pradesh. So currently,
Okay.
they're only online sessions.
You said 25 days, sir?
35. 35.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys? In any of
No,
these
sir, no,
slides that we have gone through?
No.
Okay. So quick recap, guys. We have talked about what hacking is. We have talked about what ethical hacking is. What are the categories of hackers? What are their definitions? What is the procedure that is followed by these hackers, which is called cyber kill chain? And what are the steps included in cyber kill chain? There are 5 steps: information gathering, scanning,
35 days.
Maintaining access, and reporting or clearing traces. These are the same exact 5 steps followed in any organization. And the objective of this course is to explain what those 5 steps are. What is information gathering? What do you try to obtain as an information in this phase? What is scanning? What are the different categories of scanning? What is gaining access? And what all devices are you trying to gain access to? Okay, so we try to attack every single endpoint in this phase. And finally, we have maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces, the final steps of the entire hacking cycle. Okay. Yeah. Was someone saying something? Any questions? How much to pay? The course is priced at 8,000 rupees, Siddhi. For any other confirmation on the prices or any other conversation, you'll have to connect with DurgaSoft. Okay. I don't deal with the payment part. So if you have any questions related to the training or so, you can let me know. Okay. Payment, I think they have dropped the chat. They have dropped their contact numbers and their, did they? Or if not, you can directly contact DurgaSoft from durgasoftonline.com and you can confirm the payment. It's 8,000 rupees. Yeah. Other anything else, guys, before we exit the session?
Sir, after 35 days also you will have the another batches coming, right?
Yeah, definitely. We have batches running regularly every month. So again, currently there is a batch running at 8 p.m. That is almost done. Okay, so that's why we started a new demo at 7 p.m. So once this is done, we'll add one more batch in a different time slot.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's that. Nothing further, guys. I think we can exit the session here. But one last time, any questions? Apologies, I have a bit of a sore throat today. That's why I'm unable to speak much. But hopefully I'll be better tomorrow. So again, we have demos for the rest of this week, guys. Tomorrow, the demo will be on networking fundamentals, the first prerequisite. It's an important session. I think the link for that session has already been dropped in the chat box. You can copy it from there. Okay. And the session is at 7 o'clock in the evening from tomorrow at 7, guys. Please do join that session without fail. The first 1 week of classes are for free. Okay, you can attend those demos where we'll talk about these prerequisites itself. That will give you an idea about the course and my teaching and if it is suitable for you or not. Okay. So yeah, please do join the session tomorrow and hopefully once I feel better and once my voice is better, we'll have a better, much better, longer session, guys. Okay. But yeah, as mentioned, the link for that session is already dropped in the chat box. I hope when you registered for this link, you have registered with the correct email because you'll be getting this link on the email as well. Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the evening, where we talk about the first concept, networking fundamentals. Have a good day. Thanks for joining the session today, guys, on a Sunday. Thanks for giving your time on a weekend. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.